Alright, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. So today we're going to talk about the moment of reckoning, the moment when Prophet ﷺ decided to seclude himself and stay for some times in the cave of Hira. And then right after that we'll talk about the revelation, how it came down. After the revelation we'll talk about Prophet ﷺ dealing with the consequences of the revelation. And then later on we'll talk about first humans who started accepting the message of our Prophet ﷺ. To begin with, there is an interesting verse in the Bible, in the chapter of Deuteronomy, where the Almighty talks and says that I will raise up from them a prophet like you, Moses. Again, I will raise for them a prophet like you, Moses, from among their brothers. And I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command him. And whoever will not give heed to my words which he shall speak in my name, I myself will require it of him. So here in this verse, Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 18 to 19, we see that God is speaking to the children of Israel. He's saying, I'm going to raise among them a prophet, a brethren from among themselves, just like Moses, who's going to speak what I teach him and so on. We claim that this verse talks about the coming of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the message of the Prophet. Christian theologians, they would declare this verse from the Old Testament to be a verse in which God is talking about Jesus. But then the Muslim theologians, they say that how could that be possible when, to begin with, Moses was not like Jesus, but Moses was like Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. But here it says, a prophet like you, Moses. And then the scholars, they have given their own reasons why Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was like Prophet Musa ﷺ. To begin with, Prophet Musa is a prophet who achieved success through his teaching and the establishment of a nation. He was their spiritual leader and he was their commander as well. He was their administrative leader as well, like we would call it the president nowadays. Executive leader. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was the same. He was a spiritual leader, spiritual prophet, but at the same time he was a statesman. A man who was commander-in-chief as well, in charge of the army, in charge of the government administration and so on. When we see Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, we don't see the same thing. We see that he was, yes, a leader in righteousness, a spiritual teacher and a prophet messenger, but he did not have, and nobody disagrees with this, he had no authority over the people. You had others in charge. He was not able to establish a government. He was not able to establish a big society where he could lead people. That's only one thing. Another one is the birth. You start from birth actually. Prophet Isa was not similar to Prophet Muhammad and Prophet Musa. He was born out of the Virgin Mary. ونفخنا فيه من روحنا وصدقت بكلمات ربها وكتبه وكانت من القانتين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inserted His Spirit into the womb of Mary, and she is the one who bore Prophet Isa alayhi salam without a father. So it was a miraculous birth. But Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam was a result of a man and a woman. Prophet Musa ﷺ was also a result of a man and a woman. And like I said, there are many other things, but we may not have to go into all of those details. But just that's one thing that we want to clarify, that the message of the Prophet ﷺ and his coming was also mentioned in the Old Testament Deuteronomy. We also quoted the beginning some direct verses where the name of Muhammad ﷺ was mentioned there. I want you to think a little bit right now about the time when Prophet ﷺ was before receiving his revelation. How did the society live, and based on what principles they lived? I want you to imagine how corrupt society it was. I want you to imagine the time when you had people killing their own children alive because they were not able to sustain them. They did not believe that God is the one who will sustain, who will give them. I want you to imagine the immorality that used to exist in that society. They say that, during some pilgrimage rituals, some ladies, they would do tawaf around the Kaaba half naked. And the woman, she would not know who the father is because she would sleep around with so many men. And she would just gather them in one place and assign one of them to be the father. And that was the judgment. That was the way how they would select the father of the child. I want you to imagine about usury that used to eat people up alive. And the strong person hitting the weak person. And the weak getting weaker and weaker. The poor getting poorer and poorer. I want you to imagine the wars that used to be all the time. People fighting for little things. Tribes in wars for years and years. It comes to a point where certain people in that society, they say, you know what? This is enough. Enough is enough. And this is what probably went into the mind of the Prophet ﷺ. Not only seeing this corruption and the degradation of the society and all of these society diseases, but also the fake worship. Even though they knew that this may not be the right religion, because they knew that there used to be Prophet Ibrahim, they knew that there used to be Prophet Ismail alayhi salam. They knew before that there were people who believed in the wahdaniyah, in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There were individuals, hunafa. They knew that all of these exist, but yet without any proof, without any evidence, they still worshipped so many gods, 360 gods and so on. Just following their own fathers. This is what we have found our fathers. It may not make sense, but this is what we found our forefathers doing. وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا كَذَلِكَ يَفْعَلُونَ. Like when Ibrahim a.s. asked, and he challenged his people, he said, why do you worship something that doesn't hear and is not able to speak to you back? Remember the time when he went and he destroyed all of those idols in the temple? People came back and they said, who did this? He said, ask the main one. He said, he doesn't talk. He said, well, how can you worship something that doesn't talk and doesn't hear? He challenged them right there. And perhaps in their mind there was something going on like, yeah, he's right. But while we were doing it, Quran says, وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا كَذَلِكَ يَفْعَلُونَ. This is how we found our forefathers doing. And this is what we're doing. Even though you're challenging us, and it may be a right challenge, and we may be wrong, but we're just following it. I see so many people in this society here when I get into a conversation, or into places where I travel. And I'll be asking, why? Why would you believe this? And I would challenge, sometimes people, they have no answers. But this is how I believe. Belief is not what your father used to do or what your mother used to do, and now all of a sudden automatically you are even a Muslim. You're not Muslim by lineage because your father or your mother was a Muslim. You're a Muslim because you are convinced individually, in a personal level, that Allah is your creator. You have accepted Him as your creator, and you have accepted to fulfill the obligations that you have to fulfill. Similarly to what the world is going on nowadays in many places, that's how the world was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ too. When you have a huge society like this one, it may take time. The corruption and the declining can start 20, 30, 40 years ago, but then the true results will be seen later. But in a smaller society, these things may start today, and you may see the results in like probably 6 months or so, or maybe even less than that. So it was more interpersonal relation between a human and the society where he used to live. And the Prophet ﷺ was fed up with all of this. Now all of a sudden, according to an authentic hadith in the Sahih al-Bukhari, Rasul ﷺ, he started seeing some dreams. And these dreams would become real during the day. He would see them during the night, and during the day they would become reality. And it may feel good, it is something special, but why? This is not normal. This is not what other people go through. And then all of a sudden, he decided to start isolating himself from the society and stay in this cave called Cave Hira, which is about 3 miles away from the city of Mecca, and stay there for days and sometimes weeks and perhaps even a month would go by where the Prophet would isolate himself into the cave, take his food with him for those days that he would spend there, and whatever he needed from the house, come back again, take his provisions, go back again to the cave. He found peace there. He found that there is a calling there. He didn't know what it was, but he knew that there is something there. He can reflect upon himself there. He can reflect upon the society there. So during this time, all of a sudden when he was meditating, the angel comes down to him and he's shocked. And you can imagine looking at each other so closely. And then all of a sudden, in that mystique of the moment when they were looking at each other, and when the Prophet ﷺ was trying to cope with the situation of what's happening, the silence breaks. And the angel tells him, Iqra. He squeezes him, grabs him, squeezes him, and then releases him. Prophet ﷺ says that at that time, Ibn Hisham, he says that Prophet mentioned that he thought that he was going to die. When he squeezed him, he thought that he was going to die. And then he released him and he said, Iqra, read, he commanded. And as you know the story, he said, I don't know how to read. I'm not a reader. Prophet was an illiterate prophet, a Nabi al-Ummi. He did the same thing 3 times with him. And then the Prophet said, what should I read? And then you know the first verses of Surah Al-Alaq, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. Read in the name of your Lord who created. He created the human being from alaq, from cloth. اقرأ وربك الأكرم, read because your Lord is the most generous. الذي علم بالقلم, he is the one who taught to write with a pen. And he is the one who taught the human that which he knew not. That which human knew not. So the Prophet ﷺ at that time, he was totally shocked. He read because he had to read. And then after that, according to Ibn Hisham, he stayed in the cave without going forward, without going backward. He couldn't move forward, he couldn't go back. Khadija, since this time was, it was taking too long for the Prophet to return, she was expecting him to return, she sent somebody out there to look for him. And then they found him. Again, this is one narration. And he saw the angel. Wherever he would turn his head, he would see the angel, who was like sitting on the throne, and also telling him that I am the angel Jibreel, sent by God, and you are the messenger of Allah. When he went to his house, he was feeling chills and fever because of this extraordinary event that took place. It was not normal, not natural. And in one of the statements of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says, "Khashitu li nafsi." I feared that I was going to die because of this. Again, you see these statements often. And then there was a period of time that, according to some scholars, it was about 3 years, but according to Imam al-Bayhaqi, which inshallah this is the soundest probably, it was about 6 months. The revelation did not come down to him. That was the most hardest period of time for him, between the first revelation to the second revelation. Because when he received it first, he probably expected that angel to come back again and to guide him to this new path now. Okay, I'm a messenger of God. I'm not volunteering for this, but it seems that I am chosen and Allah loves me. Okay, I started understanding that. But what do I expect after that? I expect knowledge, and I expect support, and I expect more intimacy with the angel who came to me to reveal the message. And this was not the case. So when you're not receiving that, you feel like empty. You feel like something is wrong. You feel like, you know what? You probably had one of those moments where you were almost losing yourself. But it was not a dream. It was a reality. Probably I went crazy in reality. I was about to become crazy or to die in reality, not in a dream. So, am I going crazy? These were probably questions going in his mind. And there are narrations in Sahih Bukhari where, he would think of committing suicide, throwing himself from the top of the mountain because of this separation. But then all of a sudden, when he was covered, angel Jibreel alayhi salam comes down to him back again and says, "Ya ayyuhal muddaththir, O you who is covered." We'll get a little bit into some details here. Why the angel grabbed the Prophet like that? Why did he squeeze him? Was it necessary? He could have just, revealed to him the verses and that's it. The reason why he did that was that Prophet ﷺ would be fully 100% aware that this is not a dream, this is reality. I'm squeezing you, I'm making you full aware. You are in 100% complete awareness. Another thing that we learn from the story of Prophet ﷺ going to the cave Hira is the hours of seclusion, self-examination. And this is very important for especially the human of the 21st century, where we are distracted in daily basis, hours after hours, events after events with worldly affairs. We get so busy and we start losing the track. We start getting disconnected from the reality. We start getting disconnected from our Creator. We start getting disconnected from our own inner selves. And we go with the dunya, we go with this world. And we go with the people, whatever they say, we do. Whatever they do, we do as well. We go with the flow, like they say. And we don't have time, even though we do have the intellect, but we do not have time to sit and to contemplate, to reflect about our own actions, to reflect whether we are saving our souls or we're punishing our souls. We tend to forget about the future. What is the best investment for us? Is it the money that we're running after, or is it the hereafter? Is it the Jannah that we're running after? Yes, we know the answers, but we do not take time to reflect. As a result of not taking time to reflect about these important issues, we tend to get into worldly affairs that are only around money, only about materialism. Our actions, they speak louder than our words and our thoughts. Our actions are completely different from the reality. Yes, our mind may tell us something else, but our actions, they're not in accordance with our mind and our belief in our hearts. So the seclusion of the Prophet ﷺ is a great lesson for every Muslim and non-Muslim, even those who don't learn about, who are interested to learn about the life of the Prophet, but also for Muslims to reflect about their lives, to reflect about their actions. حاسبوا أنفسكم قبل أن تحاسبوا. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu said, take into the account yourselves before you will be taken into the account. When we pass away, when the time of death comes, there's no more time to go back. They say even the righteous people in the hereafter, they will not wish for anything else except to come back in this world and to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to do dhikr. Dhikr is connecting with God, to be connected in this dunya so they can benefit more and more. They can receive more rewards in the hereafter because of that connection through the dhikr. This is a true investment that we need to focus on. But not just to think about it, but to take that into the action on a daily basis. To start acting upon it. Not just to have that thought, because I know that we all have that thought. But it is about becoming realistic to ourselves and start implementing what's good in our mind. Start implementing these thoughts and these beliefs that we have. So, isolating from the dunya, isolating from individuals, isolating from materialism, it is something very good. However, there are some people who are in complete isolation. Around the world, Muslim world, or even here, sometimes there are individuals who decide, you know what, I have nothing to do with the society. Sometimes it can be, these individuals can be excused for the fact that that's their nature, and the moment they try to get involved with the world and all of that is going to be probably a very negative experience. For certain individuals that is fine, but those individuals, they cannot set a role example for the rest of the humanity where they would be calling everybody to isolate completely. We must not reject those individuals and say this has nothing to do with Islam. See, that's very important to have that right understanding. Some Sufis, for example, this is their personal thing. Maybe okay, they may need that. However, that should not also be the norm of the society, of the people, where they just completely isolate themselves and they consider this to be righteousness for everybody. No, it's not. The Prophet was not like that. The Prophet was so active with the people. You want to express Islam, you want to express tasawwuf, you want to express all of that, you express it through interaction with people. Being positive, being influential into the society. That's how you can express and implement Islam in your daily basis. But again, we do not deny the fact that some individuals can be in that state, and that is perfectly fine for some of them. But often, on and off, individuals, Muslims, they must though, take their time to do this khalwa sometimes, as it's called, or uzla, or khalwa. Especially the scholars, they do practice this often, and you have heard about them. Another thing here, I mentioned to you earlier that we call the Prophet ﷺ An-Nabiyul Ummi. People of the book, they find him written in their own books, in the Bible. Illiterate Prophet ﷺ. And we feel proud of that. How is it possible for us to feel proud? We feel proud because even though he did not know how to read and write, he was the teacher and the master of those people who knew how to read and write. He was a source of knowledge, he was a source of experience, he was a source of wisdom. And that's the beauty of it. Out of somebody who doesn't even know how to read and write, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is creating a source for the knowledge. Muslims, they contributed so much. They have the greatest contribution into the world's civilization and the sciences, the development of the sciences. Because of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But there's another point here that I want to mention, that having a lot of information and knowledge does not necessarily mean that you're going to reach the truth and the realities. Spiritual guidance and spiritual realities can be obtained through your true connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through inner knowledge, through your spiritual knowledge, not through an informative knowledge, not through the information that you receive. I say this because sometimes we see a lot of youth who are interested to learn. I teach in many places, and I see them, they are, mashallah, they have so much enthusiasm. They're ready to learn, and they're ready to criticize. They have critical thinking. They have so many tools in order to obtain knowledge that we were not lucky enough to obtain knowledge as they are nowadays. We had to walk for hours just to go to a masjid to listen to a khutbah, and that khutbah was probably, mainly inspirational, but we didn't learn much sometimes out of certain khutbahs. Walk for 45 minutes or an hour, walk for another 45 minutes or an hour back, and this is how we had to do it. When I was growing up, we didn't have books because they all burned them during the time of communism. And in so many countries, they suffered from not even having books. So what I'm saying, it was totally different scenario, but yet they were able to deliver, they were able to make us understand and realize that in order for you to attain some spiritual levels, some spiritual realities, to feel that closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you need to do that through your internal connection with God. You need to do that through sidq, through sincerity. You need to do that through the righteous, good intentions that you have. You cannot necessarily achieve that through critical thinking or through reading a lot of books or being informed about so many things. Now we see a lot of them, they just read books. But when it comes to really practice what they know, you see them failing big time. They don't have the basics, but yet they are so connected to these details and to knowledge, which is good. But that does not lead you necessarily to Allah. Just information does not necessarily lead you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what this seclusion tells us. And also the name of the Prophet being Nabi Ummi, unliterate Prophet, also tells us that he did not achieve this through studying, but he achieved this through his character, through his righteousness, through his reflection, and so on. So when Prophet ﷺ went back, the first person that he faced was Sayyidatuna Khadija bin Khuwaylid radiallahu ta'ala anha. And of course she was very concerned seeing his situation like that. And then she asked him what is happening. And the Prophet ﷺ opened up to her and explained to her what happened. And then Khadija said, let me go, I'll talk to Waraqa bin Nufayl. Waraqa bin Nufayl was the cousin of Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. And he knew how to interpret the Torah. And he was a Christian. He passed away, according to some narrations, 3 days after Prophet ﷺ explained to him about his risala. So first Sayyidatuna Khadija went to him and she told him, and then all of a sudden he said, Qudus, Qudus. Qudus means holy, holy. He was referring to Jibreel alayhi salam, Angel Gabriel. And he expressed his help and support. And he said that what I'm hearing, it seems that this is the messenger of God. This is an experience that a messenger of God would have. I'll mention to you the exact words here mentioned. O Khadija, it is a very good news. Certainly by him in whose hand is Waraqa's soul, which is God. If what you have related to me is true, there has, after all, come unto him the same sacred spirit who came to Musa. Certainly he is the prophet of his people. Congratulate him. Let him now be steadfast. According to Ibn Hisham, it's either the Prophet or Waraqa who asked for a meeting, one-on-one meeting with the Prophet. So he wanted to hear directly from him the experience that he went through. And now the Prophet is meeting with Waraqa in front of the Kaaba, sitting with him together, and the Prophet is relating to him everything he saw and he experienced with Angel Jibreel alayhi salam. Ibn Hisham, he relates, when Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam finished telling him what happened? Waraqa kissed his forehead and he told him, assuredly you are the chosen of God, but people will defy you. They will mistreat you. They will exile you. And they will fight against you. If I live to see the day, I will surely try my best to help, as God would desire of me. And again, according to Ibn Hisham, the Prophet ﷺ responds to him in a shock. He says, what? Will they expel me? Yes, he responded. For no man has ever brought what you have without being opposed and then forgotten by his people. This has always been so. This was the end of the conversation that they had together. And the reason why the Prophet ﷺ is being surprised and in a state of shock, asking him, what? They will do this to me? They will exile me? There are two things. Number one, he was called Al-Amin, the trustworthy, the one who people they can trust. People used to respect him in the society where he lived. He helped the poor, he helped the widows. People, they loved him and they respected him. So now, the moment he's hearing from this learned man that he will be fought and he will be exiled from the land, but then right on he realized, and this is what Waraqa was also teaching him, that it's not about who you are right now. It's about who are you going to be very soon. Because now you're going to keep that message with you, and probably secretly, but then later on you have to go out there and start talking about this in public. And that's where you're going to start seeing enemies. Until now, you're cool. You didn't bother anybody. Now that you receive this, you have to start contradicting with people. And the moment you start contradicting with them, that's where you're going to start seeing the problems coming. The other thing too is, I want you to take it in a personal level, like, it was a suffering. You're experiencing this revelation coming down to you, thinking that, you know what, you're going crazy, thinking that you're approaching death. This is too much for you to bear. This is also a great lesson for all of us to learn from it, that Islam is not meant to be practiced individually and to make sure that you're causing no trouble, no problem, nobody knows about you, you're in your isolated world and you're good there, sleep well. It's not supposed to be like that. We have it wrong. We have a wrong understanding. Just live it in a personal level. It's my private life in Islam. I'm just applying it, doing the prayers here and there, but my main thing is work, my main thing is this, and I'm pretty much just like anybody else. Yes, we are like other people, definitely. But when there is a call that we need to answer, we definitely need to be there. Look, we are all here at in this place not just to make a living. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guarantees you're living everywhere. Whether you're in India, you are in Pakistan, Albania, in America, it doesn't matter. Your rizq, nobody will get your rizq, your sustenance. You will be the only one who will eat from that rizq. It's about you getting involved. A lot of times we complain, we say, we don't like this Imam, we don't like this masjid, we don't like... What are you doing to change? Even though you don't like it, but do you like something about that masjid or that place where you go or whatever? Do you like something about it? Start volunteering and start doing something positive. So other people, they can start following you too, and maybe a change will happen later. Do you expect to see change simply based on our complaints? But we complain too much though. We complain too, and many of these complaints are true complaints. Yes, there's a lot of places they don't know how to run. There's a lot of wrong out there. You know, there's a lot of people who claim to be Muslims and scholars and trying to preach about Islam, but actually they're not giving the right message out there. We have a lot of problems everywhere in America, in the Muslim world, full of problems. And we must be critical too. But should we stop there, just be critical and that's it? Express that we know something, we know how to criticize, and then we stop? This should not be our behavior. This is where we're failing all over. This is one of the major problems we're having nowadays. We have become people of complaints and not people of work. Prophet ﷺ was surprised because he was in that state where everything was cool for him. He was a good man, but that's it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, you're a messenger of God, Rasulullah, doesn't mean that everybody has to be happy with you. Try to make people happy, but that's not going to happen all the time. But that doesn't mean that you're going to stop my message. You have a responsibility to carry on. They like it, they don't like it, leave it up to me. I will deal with them, but you do your responsibility. Do your job. Be there when you are needed. Fulfill those obligations. Otherwise, you have to give an answer to me when you meet me that day, on the day of judgment. That's why it was not easy. And you know what, later on what happened after the message started being revealed. All the wars and all the Medina and all the mushriks and a life full of struggle. Just for the sake of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. So again, these are all problems, challenges that we live with, which really talks about the realities that we're in. We have to go beyond these. Number one, to be more sensible about our situations. That's number one. Number two, when we get into these situations, learn how to work with one another. You can complain, but don't stop after you complain. And when you complain, take that into the right people, right responsible people. And don't just show out there that you're angry and everybody has to hear your anger now, simply because you're angry. And be very careful, because every word you say nowadays can be very, can impact a lot of people. Especially when you have Facebook, you have Twitters, you have so many of these media sources, and you have to be very careful with what you say. Try to be positive, try to spread the word of peace, try to spread the teachings of Islam. Wallah, if we do this, if we cooperate with one another, one person, two people, like, okay, we have this event next week, I'm announcing. Next week, inshallah, Saturday at 4 p.m. at our masjid, UICA, United Islamic Center of Arizona, 35th Avenue and 101, south of 101. We're having an open house. Get some people. We're going to have interfaith leaders there. We'll have city officials. Get some non-Muslim friends who are around you, and you want them, give them a chance to be introduced about Islam and see the community. See who we are, what we think of this society and what we believe in. Let them witness this, if you have some friends. So start doing something, this is a chance, for example, for you to start getting active and motivate others and so on. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with his salams and his salawats. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes, I'm not saying necessarily easy, but makes these times that we're going through beneficial for all of us. And we benefit from them in such a way that we earn Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from the calamities and the harms that we are unable to bear. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our wisdom. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our intentions sincere. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us more devoted people. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who interact with one another in the birr and taqwa, in righteousness, and not in ithm and udwan, not in sin and animosity. Oh Allah, we ask you your rahmah, your mercy. We ask you forgiveness. We ask you to admit us in your paradise in the company of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.